98 Estimation Romeo's current altimeter 2986.
Wait, what just happened? Let's rewind this and take a closer look at this routine takeoff from North Myrtle Beach Airport. So there I was, lined up on runway 05 for an IFR flight from Grand Strand Airport to Asheboro, North Carolina. Just to be clear, this was not a pre-planned stunt. I wasn't recording this flight for the FS MaNiA channel. I just wanted to have a nice, easy flight for fun. Famous last words, right? Slowly advance the power to 40 inches. Airspeed's alive. Gauges all in the green. 60 knots. 70, 75. Rotate. Fortunately, X-Plane has a fantastic replay mode that enabled me to rewind and find out what went wrong. Maybe 15 or 20 foot above the runway, the airplane suddenly veers hard to the left. What I do in the next 5 seconds determines if I live or become another general aviation fatality. Immediately, I begin feeding in right aileron and rudder to stop the roll and level the wings. It's not enough. Only with full deflection of both right aileron and right rudder can I stop the roll to the left. Obviously, I'm still in ground effect with 80 knots airspeed. I gingerly start easing the nose up to coax the airplane into a climb. After what seemed like an eternity, the fully deflected control inputs begin to have an effect. The wings are beginning to level up. I'm losing airspeed, so I ease off the ailerons. Nope, she needs all the aileron I can give her for a wings level attitude. Clean up the airplane. Gear up. Now let's watch it in real time to see just how fast 5 seconds go by. So there's a couple of things going through my mind. First and foremost, I want to get my airspeed up and keep the airplane climbing. I need some altitude to give me time to sort things out. Second, what in the world has caused this problem? My first thought is I must have an asymmetrical wing flap extension. If the right flap were hanging out, it would cause the airplane to roll left. I'm too busy watching the instruments to take a quick look, but in my mind, that has to be the cause. My plan is to climb the aircraft to pattern altitude, turn left downwind for runway 5, and get this thing back on the ground as soon as practical. It's about this time when I realize I can't maintain a heading with the wings level. I need to bank right to keep the aircraft from turning left. That's weird. The airplane's tendency to turn left and my inability to maintain a heading has caused me to fly a crappy pattern. I haven't turned base yet and I've already crossed the center line of runway 5. I'm thinking the left turning tendency will work in my favor in a left traffic pattern, but now I'll need to eventually turn right to line up with the runway. I think for a second about flying a downwind and landing on 2-3, but I decide it's better to land sooner rather than later just in case something breaks that makes matters worse. Since I'm thinking this is an asymmetrical flap issue, it makes sense that extending the flaps will increase lift. but more importantly, help bring some balance to the asymmetry of the controls. First notch of flaps, it doesn't help. Going for a second notch, it still doesn't help. Easing back on the power. Oh crap, thank goodness for the gear warning horn. Gear going down. Altitude 750 feet, airspeed 85 knots. I'm about on the runway centerline now. If I can just keep the airplane from turning any further left. 400 feet, 85 knots. That windshield divider is blocking my view. Got to keep my airspeed up. Slow the descent. The runway is made. Full flaps. 80 knots. This is going to be interesting. I don't want the right wingtip to hit the runway. If I ease off the ailerons too early, I'll be landing sideways. Need to time it just right. Better tighten your seat belts. Hold on. Brace for impact. Easing off the ailerons. Uh-oh. Power off. Brakes. Brakes. Pause. Okay. Wait a second. How the heck did we end up here? Let's take another look at that takeoff. Like I said, thanks to X-Plane's replay mode, I was able to rewind to look at the takeoff again. I also use this opportunity to start my video recording. So here we are, taxiing into position on runway 5. Do you notice anything unusual with the flaps? Nope. But check out the rudder. It's fully deflected to the left. What? The fully deflected rudder doesn't seem to have any effect on the takeoff roll, but shortly after takeoff, the aircraft veers sharply left, which is exactly what you would expect to happen with a fully deflected left rudder. Even though I know from the cockpit replay view that I had full right rudder and full right aileron control inputs, the rudder on the replay mode appears to be stuck in the full left position. What this means is when I fed in full right aileron, I was unknowingly crossing the controls, which is fine if you're performing a slip to lose altitude quickly, but not what you want on takeoff. So I saved this flight, and the next day I came back to record some more views. In the saved replay mode, the rudder is no longer in the full deflected position. You can see now the rudder is deflected full right, which matches what was happening in the cockpit. Now I know there are going to be some skeptics among you, but Scout's honor, there was no monkey business with the editing. What you're seeing is real. Well, other than the fact that it's a simulation. Did you notice how close we came to becoming a cartwheeling fireball? At any rate, let's go back and find out what happens after the aircraft departed the runway. Once we hit the grass, we're pretty much just along for the ride. I'm still holding in full right rudder and aileron and standing on the brakes. We're slowed to about 35 knots. This is not a seaplane. Womp womp. Whose idea was it to put the airport this close to the intracoastal waterway? I'm still not 100% sure what caused the glitch with the rudder. One thing I noticed during my pre-flight checks was the elevator trim was in the full nose down position. I went back on the replay and took a close look at the rudder trim. It seems to be centered up, but I suspect the outer trim elevator and the fully deflected rudder are symptoms of the same problem. So this is how we learn. Lesson 1, if something seems unusual or out of whack during pre-flight, take a few extra minutes to double check every way the airplane might be trying to kill you. And lesson 2, don't let complacency lure you into thinking a seemingly routine takeoff isn't dangerous. When something goes wrong on takeoff, you have to act quickly, and you only get one chance to act correctly. Okay, so we're not going to walk away from this landing, but I'm a pretty good swimmer. So at least we live to fly another day. I'm sure the plane will be fine. A little rubbing compound and that'll buff right out. No worries. Hey, thanks for joining me, and from FS MaNiA, so long.
Baron 1 Tango Whiskey. I'm getting a low altitude alert. Check your altitude. Altimeter's 29 or 86.